Hello everyone, I'm Harry.
I'm Berserker88, also known as Steve, because I don't want to be the only one with the username here. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, I probably should have used my username, but it doesn't really matter. And welcome to I guess the second recording of the Kung Fu Panda movie commentary. As people might know who've watched my channel and my stuff for a while, I did actually do this before, but I'm doing it again because I have another fan with me, so it's going to be less awkward.
Yeah, and I never saw the first commentary, so this is kind of new for me.
No, I deleted it. Okay, basically, this. Okay, do you want? You might have done it before in another video, but would you like to explain again where you started with this franchise?
It's funny that you say that because I was actually planning to do that in this commentary.
Yeah.
Back in the Serpent's Tooth, when I mentioned that when I first saw this film the first time, I thought it was great. I thought it was good, but not really great until I saw the second one. And I think I've kind of figured out the reason for that.
Is it because like it kind of like this film's good, but you realize the plan that they started to have for the kind of the story they wanted to tell by the time the second one came out?
Sort of. Basically, what I was going to say is that this makes a better beginning of a series than its own individual thing.
Yeah.
It's like a pilot episode in movie form.
Okay, a bit of trivia. That bunny who just said "and attractive," that is Jack Black's real life wife.
What?
Yeah, seriously.
That's awesome.
There's another little a nice gag later on that about like voice roles. I'll explain it in a minute. It's like coming up in like 5 minutes. But I absolutely adore the beginning of this film. I remember when I watched this for the first time. I don't know what I'll explain why I watched it for the first time a bit later. But basically, I was watching this and I'm like, what the fuck is this when I first watched it? Because it's very anime-esque and I wasn't really expecting that. And I was watching this bit and I thought, this is like hilariously over the top. Where's the punchline to it? And literally the minute the punchline happened in a second, I knew the film was going to be great.
And you said you first saw this not in theaters?
No, I haven't seen any of the films in theaters.
Neither have I, which is one of my great regrets in life.
I regret it a lot, but I understand why I didn't, because to be honest, the way the film was marketed wasn't clever because it just looked really cliche.
DreamWorks is not good at marketing these. At least not the Western branch.
Okay, the reason why I'll just explain why I started watching it. The reason why I started watching these films is in 2013. I don't want to get over dramatic, but I was pretty down and I was pretty depressed about stuff, just life and everything. And I was bored on the internet, and I don't really like the Nostalgia Critic, but I happened to watch, based on a recommendation by a friend, the DreamWorks review series he did. I don't know if you've seen that.
DreamWorks Uwari.
Yeah, that. And I kind of watched some of them, and I was like, Kung Fu Panda. Oh yeah, I remember that. And I kind of remembered it coming out, and I had no interest in it then. But out of curiosity, I watched his review, and he was nothing but positive about it. And I was like, that's weird. And I torrented them, and I watched them, and I'm like, it blew my mind how good they were. And because I was in such a down mood, the positivity of it and its message, I know it's a cheesy message, but like, it came to me at the right point in my life when it affected me and I needed that boost. So in a way, I kind of thank Kung Fu Panda and its franchise for just getting me out of a funk, basically. That's why it means a lot to me, and that's why I do videos on it.
Well, gee, I wish I had a story that dramatic. I saw it once and I was like, oh, this is cool.
I was just trying not to be too dramatic about it, but that's basically what happened, and that's why I will never be anything but I'll never be negative about it, no matter its faults, and I recognise that it has faults. I will never ever shit talk it. Sorry, we talked over a great gag there where Poe falls down the stairs, and you see Mr. Ping's shadow, and it looks like a panda, and then it pulls.
I was going to say that. That's exactly what I was going to say.
It's such a great gag. It's an annoying part is it's a hard gag to notice if you're not looking for it, which kind of wastes it a little bit.
I actually just noticed it. I didn't know it was in the movie until I just saw it just now.
Really?
Yeah.
To be honest,
and I've seen this like 3 times.
To be fair, I didn't see it until a couple of watches because it's on the very edge of the frame, your eyes are focused on Poe. Now, Mr. Ping is like a fan favourite character. He's one of my favourites. He's so lovable but goofy at the same time. He's played by James Hong, who's a veteran Chinese actor. He's played so many roles. He's actually also in an episode of Seinfeld. It's where I first saw him. He's in the episode, ironically, the Chinese restaurant, when he plays a guy who owns a restaurant and he's a dick to everyone. And this whole backstory of him owning a noodle restaurant is actually based on James Hong's real family, and they thought it added an interesting dynamic to the character that he owns that business, that they kind of added it in. It's hard to picture him without it, to be honest, and I'm kind of glad they kept it.
I'm also kind of glad that it looks like Mr. Ping might be getting a bigger role in the third film.
I would love that. He's such a great character.
Or at least he's getting more screen time.
I think if he doesn't, because they need to like explore that father dynamic, if he doesn't, then I'll be very, very surprised. And here's the introduction of the Furious Five and Shifu. Also, a bunch of great characters. And I know you're going to be hearing me and Berserker say that a lot, but these just great characters. They're very enjoyable, and the way they play off each other is like masterful at points. No pun intended. This lighting, I mean, this is a film from 2008, but when I first saw it in 2013, this lighting blew my mind, because like I'd never seen fur and kind of, not clothing, but I guess like fur detail. I'd never seen it that great.
Well, there is clothing.
Yeah, I know, but it's kind of hard to kind of explain what the point I'm trying to make. But like, I hadn't seen lighting this great in a long time, and it just kind of, lighting is such a is a point in films, especially animated films, where people don't usually. It's one of the last things that gets work done on it. So like, I appreciate it when lighting is great, because it sets an atmosphere totally.
I'm amazed at how good this still looks.
Yeah, it's so good. Oh, who's Oogway, the old master archetype, who's played by
the older master.
Yeah, he's played by Randall Duck Kim. One of the best characters easily in the film. Some of the best lines and comedic moments come from Oogway, and he's just a great character.
I'm glad they keep using him.
That's one of the things I like about the film. Like, it has these archetypes of characters: the stoic one, Tigress; the master, Oogway and Shifu; the eventual hero, who's Po. But the personalities are so great and the voice performances are great that you don't really think about the fact they're pretty cliche. It just adds to like the story, and I think that is a positive thing that the film does. Like, I didn't notice how cliche it was.
Yeah, the thing about Kung Fu Panda in general is it's kind of filled with old kung fu movie cliches, but kind of modernized, so it's still fresh.
Yeah, exactly. This line is amazing that's coming up.
I love Oogway.
Oogway's such a legend. Again, they could have. Again, that's the thing that you're saying about modernising. They could have easily just made a cliched kind of prophecy thing, but instead they made Oogway more well-rounded by him not knowing everything.
And speaking of modernizing, I appreciate that DreamWorks was in kind of a dark age during this period of film. You know, it was like the Shrek era where everything was pop culture references and toilet humor.
Really? Oh yeah, 2008. Yeah, of course, what we're talking about. I love the fact that instead of trying to do that, they just told a story, and that's all they need to do is just tell good stories. You don't need to, because like if you add pop culture references, it just kind of makes it less timeless. And like this kind of story about a character rising up to fight evil, it's such a timeless story. You don't really need to fill it with pop culture references,
especially given the time period. I mean,
this film is going to last a lot longer than something like Shrek.
Oh, and it has. Shrek kind of died after 2 movies.
See that lighting there, the light coming through the archway, that is just fantastic detail. They didn't need to do that, but the fact they did it makes me respect it. And also a point here, all the confetti here is individually rendered. Every single piece. That's insane to me.
Wow.
They do that with the snow later as well.
I will say the timeless factor is the one reason why I think they could possibly pull off 6 of these. I know a lot of people have doubts about that.
No, I definitely think they could. Okay, there's a joke here coming up, and it's again another voice performance cameo from one of Jack Black's friends. I'll point it out in a second. But when I found out who it was, it blew my mind. Just made me think the line was so much funnier than it was. This joke, this made me piss myself laughing when I first watched it. But it's also a joke I've seen a million times. See these 2 pigs?
Yeah.
That is Cones and Kyle Gass from Tenacious D, Jack Black's band.
Huh. That's interesting.
It's kind of hard. Kyle Gass is a lot more easily recognisable because people have heard him a lot more, but they're both in his band, and I don't know why they're there, but it's just a nice little detail.
Just for shits and giggles, really.
Yeah.
I kind of wonder how that conversation went. Like, hey guys, want to record 2 pigs?
No. Oh, come on.
I'll give you $20.
I can't say no to that. Another thing I respect about Kung Fu Panda is, like, the way it tells its story. It doesn't spoon feed you everything. A lot of it is facial expressions and subtleness, and I like that. You don't have to. It's a rule that I look for in a lot of, especially kids' films. Don't treat your audience like they're idiots. You know, children aren't idiots. They can pick holes and stuff like that just as well as anyone.
I love this whole scene of Poe trying to get into the arena.
Yeah, it's such great slapstick. What do you think of Jack Black as Poe? Do you think he was perfectly cast? I'd say so.
Yeah. I don't even really like Jack Black and anything else.
I think the only other role I've seen in him that he's good was a film called Bernie, but it wasn't animated. It was like a live action film. That's the only other role I've seen in him where I thought his performance like made it. And that's the thing, like, I don't know if the role was written specifically for him, but he's totally made it his role.
Like, I forget it is Jack Black.
Then that's a great performance. If you forget who it is, then it's a good performance. I think Jack Black is the standout role, but I'm not going to say that every single character in the film was bad. Apart from Poe, they're all great, but it's just that Jack Black is pretty much the standout performance because he is that character.
Yeah. And being the main character,
Yeah.
that's a good thing.
I forgot. I haven't watched this film in ages, and I forgot how funny some of these slapstick scenes are. That bit when he tries to tie the bamboo down and just smacks him in the back of the head.
I've noticed this film is way more slapsticky than the second one.
Like, the second film uses a lot more wordplay, doesn't it?
Yeah, which I consider a positive on that end, but of course slapstick's always good.
The thing is,
Right.
I'm glad they did that, because if you overuse slapstick and you have to, like, if your characters are made out to be invincible, then all the tension just disappears. So I like the fact they stopped using it. Well, not stopped, but lessened it a bit. I think it's kind of funny that Tigress. I don't know why. I find it weird that Tigress didn't get to kind of show off there. I think it's kind of playing into the fact that, like, Poe respects her the most, but you don't really get to see her fight until a lot later.
We don't get to see any of them fighting. That's kind of the part of the scene. When you think of it from like Poe's perspective, he's not seeing it.
I mean, like, you see kind of Crane and the others do stuff, but I mean, like
a little
Tigress
bit.
is the one that's interrupted, and so, like, I don't know. I find that kind of. It's probably trying to make a point, but I don't know what point it's trying to make.
You know, that's really weird because in the video game, what you were talking about before, in this level that covers the scene, you do play as Tigress for a bit, like do a boss fight. Yeah, it's the only one that's playable.
What, in the entire?
You fight that like giant wooden ox thing.
Oh, right.
So she's the only one you get to see in action.
Now this moment here, the fireworks in the chair, is actually based on an old Chinese myth. I don't know the names of the people involved, but basically he strapped fireworks to a chair to try and get to the moon. He was never seen again. That's right. I assume it didn't go too well.
Not all mess up happy endings.
DreamWorks on their Twitter account made this a GIF the other day of him sliding along the wall. I love the establishing shots of the Valley of Peace. I always think it looks really pretty. Just a little bit further to the top and he would have killed Oog right there.
Yeah, that would have been pretty bad. Kung Fu Panda, the alternate version.
What if? I like the fact, in a little way, I kind of like the fact that he's going to get picked, but they do it in such a strange roundabout way that a little part of me doubts that it's going to happen.
One thing I really like about Poe as a character is that he's really humble about this whole thing.
Yeah,
because the whole time he's like, "Are you kidding? I'm not the Dragon Warrior."
They could have easily made him incredibly arrogant, easily, but they made that extra effort of making him just as befuddled by it as they are.
Which was the original plan, if you're aware.
Yeah. But
that he was going to be a lot less likable in the original script.
It's weird how much they changed the backstory of Poe and basically a lot of the characters, because they started making this film in 2003.
Wow.
And Poe wasn't going to be a panda bear; he was going to be like a normal golden bear, and just stuff changed like that, and it was going to have a lot more of a kind of a realistic art style. Like the proportions of the characters were going to be a lot more realistic.
Yeah, I've seen the really old concept art.
I much prefer the style they have here, to be honest.
Me too, definitely. It's so weird seeing Tigress in her old outfit. It's actually been a while since I've seen that now.
Yeah, it's kind of weird that she's got this new outfit, but that we haven't seen yet. But I consider that the one she's wearing now a bit outdated.
Oh wow, I forgot the scene happened so early.
This is such a great establishing shot.
It's such a massive change of scenery.
It's a great transition as well. The confetti turning into snow, I love it. I just had a horrible thought, Berserker. Somewhere in this fortress is Hoondoon.
He's actually one of the few LOA villains I kind of like.
Really?
Well, for one thing, he has an actual backstory and a connection to the film.
I know, but he's so annoying.
And he has that very odd speaking style.
Playing the commander of the rhinos here is Vachira, isn't it?
Vakir.
Whatever. He's played by Michael Clark Duncan, who is sadly no longer with us, but he turned a very minor character into a very enjoyable character. Again, that's a part I like. The storytelling is very subtle. Uguay said earlier, the road you take to avoid your destiny is sometimes going to lead to it, or something along those lines. And by sending what's his bloody name, the other goose character there,
Zhang.
To yes, sorry, Zhang's voice actor. I totally forgot who you were. By sending him there, he has let Tai Lung escape. So again, that's subtle storytelling. You don't need to spell that out to people. You can see that.
I like how Vakir sounds like an angry black guy despite being a white rhino.
Yeah, it's because he's played by a black guy.
He just managed to portray that very well.
Well, he was born for the part, I guess.
Yeah. So when you grow up, you're going to be an angry rhino.
Say ain't so, Daddy. A nice visual contrast here with the turtle shell being like Uruguay's. Well, in the backstory of the film, that shell was designed by Uruguay and given to them to keep Tai Lung in. So.
And apparently it's also where he learned the nerve strike. He kind of just took it from the shell.
I didn't know that. That's pretty interesting.
Kind of creepy how still he is here.
It's scary, man.
Compared to how ridiculously over the top he is later.
I love the fact when I know he's voiced by Ian McShane, who's he plays a lot of villains anyway, but I love the fact that when his voice when he speaks later, it's nothing like you think he's gonna sound like.
It's such a great reveal. You have the whole scene of him breaking through the prison, which of course we'll see later. He's getting all these snarls. He sounds like this really big tough guy, and then he has the smooth British voice.
Well, Ian McShane is, like I said, has played a lot of villains. So there's an interview of him when he was talking about playing Tai Lung. They basically said, "Oh, why did you want to play it?" And he basically went, "I need a new yacht."
He's honest.
Now, there's a lot of visual stuff in here to make notice of. This was actually also Jack Black's first scene. This is the first scene he recorded, and he did it totally by himself. So they basically said to him, improvise seeing stuff and what animate in the film. So he made a list of like imaginary kung fu stuff that would be cool, and they animated it in like the invisible trident and stuff like that.
My God, there's so much shit in this Hall of Warriors.
It's like it's one of the things where you could pause at every frame and see something new.
Oh, someone pointed out that urn. If you look closely on it, it's like concept art of Tai Lung's wolves, which later became Shen's wolves.
That's nice attention to detail. I love this gag as well.
You know, they actually reused this gag in LOA.
Oh no.
There's a little scene where I don't even know what episode it is, but he knocks over the urn again, and he's like, yeah, we gotta put that on a higher shelf.
I'll give you that, LOA. That was a funny joke.
It has its moments.
You know when Shifu smiles like that at you, you're fucked.
It's also strange seeing Shifu in his old outfit, even though his new one is just the same thing with the green robe.
With Uguay's greenish robe on it.
Yeah. And I like that the outfits are just, like subtle changes, not full-blown ones.
There's a also a nice subtle change when you come to the second film, is if you notice in this one, Shifu limps because of that. He's got a psychosomatic injury, which basically means his physical injury has gone, but he still does it out of habit. And he doesn't. It's supposed to be like the show of the burden of the choices he made years ago, and it goes by the second film. Again, that's a nice bit of subtle visual storytelling. You don't need to tell people that because you can see it. Also, as a bit of behind the scenes thing, Shifu was originally going to be a orange fox instead of a red panda.
Huh.
So the design they used for the little orange fox was reused as Junji from Legend of Awesomeness.
Well, it's kind of fitting, more fitting that he's a red panda, because there's almost a little bit of a relation between him and Poe.
That's another behind the scenes thing. Originally, Shifu was going to be Poe's father instead of Mr. Ping, but they didn't think that was basically the original idea for Poe was to have normal panda parents, and they've won. That's not interesting enough. We need to make him a bit more kind of.
It wasn't, no.
And they just kind of changed it. So Shifu was his father. Then they changed it to Mr. Ping because they just thought it would. Again, they just had this idea of a story thread of him being adopted. They would use later, which they did.
Got a whole 2-film story arc about it. Yeah.
That's them building those little story arcs. Well, three films technically, because that's going to be the plot of the third film.
Well, I consider 2 and 3 like one big story arc about Poe's parents.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You could technically consider all 3 films as the big story arc because that's hinted at later on. It's brought up later on because remember, Mr. Ping says to Poe, "Oh, there's something I need to tell you," and it's kind of hinted that. Oh no, because Poe says sometimes.
Which is probably my favorite gag in the film. That or the one with Shifu at the very end.
I love that one. I remember this was one of the first scenes shown off when it was being previewed, and I gotta admit, as much as I like this film, this scene is a little bit cliched and a little bit like too physical for me. I much preferred wordplay as jokes, and when I like the slapstick, I think it's a little much in this scene.
It is very, very slapstick.
I love the way he runs over to the dummy. I just love that run.
So excited about it.
Now, what was the dummy called? You told me its official name. What was its official name again?
The Adversary.
That's it. That's a they use that a lot in a lot of like. They use it a lot in the sequels to basically to prove the point that Poe's kind of grown stronger as a character. It's used a lot later on.
He keeps it in his room now. It's like his nighttime buddy.
No, like I said earlier, Jack Black recorded a lot of his lines alone in a room. It's kind of a mark of how good his acting is that it never sounds like it. It sounds like they've all recorded it together. And there's a bit of a behind-the-scenes thing. When he was recording his lines, he did the movements that he thought Poe would do. So a lot of what he's doing here is what Jack Black would do.
That is amazing. Just imagining Jack Black actually doing all these moves.
There's a bit when he was recording for the second film when he Poe is on the he's on the roof, and he basically stood on the chair in the corner of the room and was just yelling his lines. And the joke in the second film based around him yelling at Shen is because they saw that and thought it was funny.
And it was. So, good job. Well, I just realized Poe gets hit in the nuts twice in this scene. That sucks.
It's the mark of a true kung fu master that he gets up straight away after it. Now, we notice in this scene that the five are a little bit annoyed with Poe, and at first it's kind of one of those things where they're just being obnoxious for no reason. But again, like a plot thread that I like is they're not angry for no reason. They all wanted to be, the Dragon War. They all worked very, very hard for it.
Yeah, they have very good reason.
And they didn't need to say to the audience, "Oh, these people are angry because of this." You can just kind of say, I'm going to keep rambling on about visual storytelling, but to me, that's the best type of storytelling. You don't, spoon feed people it. They can find it themselves, and it makes watching it on a second time or third time even better.
Particularly Tigress. Like, they all make fun of him, but you can see Tigress just looking completely disgusted throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, disgusted is the best word to describe her. I like the fact they used a lot of comedians for these roles, for these kind of serious roles. Okay, maybe not serious, being like Seth Rogen, David Cross, Jackie Chan, all great comedic actors.
And of course, Jackie Chan is very fitting.
I think he choreographed some monkey stuff as well, but don't quote me on that.
I thought it was fun. I thought it was funny that a lot of people thought Jackie Chan was originally going to be Tigress because they didn't know Tigress was going to be a girl.
I didn't know that.
Because she looks so masculine.
I love this joke coming up. This is actually probably one of my favourite scenes from the film, actually. That feeling when you're trying to creep around the house at 2 a.m. Awkward. David Cross is one of those people I think was perfectly cast. I can't hear anything but his voice now coming out of that character.
I like that Crane gets a little scene here.
Yeah.
Because most of the five don't really usually get their own scenes that much. It's usually just Tigress or all of them. So it's really special when they do.
I love those little quips he makes, like, oh, he's still here.
And Crane's just trying to be as polite as possible, and he's like, please leave.
This is some really great lighting as well. Property of Crane.
Someone's mesmerized this film. So have I.
I'm not ashamed.
I could probably do this commentary without audio, but that would take away half the fun.
But actually, that was a really unintentional segue, because the audio is one of my favourite things about the film. Thank you for that. What do you think about the soundtrack?
It's amazing.
Yeah, I agree, totally.
I have a bunch of the songs on my iPod.
I have all of the songs on my iPod. I'm that sad.
Well, I've only got a shitty little iPod shuffle, so I've got a lot more limited.
At least you have an iPod. I use my phone.
Oh, this is some really great lighting. She looks so menacing.
Her eyes here are amazing. No, stop panning in. She's gonna kill me. The soundtrack was composed with by Hans Zimmer and John Powell. Or is it just Hans Zimmer for this first film? I can never remember. Basically, to absorb the influences that they would need to record the soundtrack, Hans Zimmer went to China and hung out with the orchestra that he used, and kind of got them to play traditional Chinese standards so he could learn what the music was like.
Which seems to be their tradition now. They always go to China for each film now.
Yeah.
take it to the extreme in the third, which is being produced by China.
By Oriental DreamWorks, which is a company specifically formed for that film.
Which is amazing.
And a film they're doing afterwards, which they haven't said. Although I suspect it is going to be an original film.
Oh, I'd hope, but yeah.
Well, no, I mean like not a sequel, like an original idea.
The series gets gradually more and more Chinese.
That's something I really respect, because like in China, these films are seen as some of the most respectful of their culture. Little names they use, like techniques, the actual art form of kung fu is all like represented really, really well here. And that's something about DreamWorks I really like. When, for some of their projects, not all of them, when they look at an idea, they research it so thoroughly. Like one of the things they did to learn kung fu, the art team and the some of the writers kind of went and did a 4-hour class to learn some of the movements and learn the kind of physical exertion you need to do it.
That's pretty amazing.
That's a great line by Oogway. That's actually one of my favourite lines in any film. I don't know if that's based on a real proverb or they've made it specifically for that film. For this film, rather.
Oh, this scene.
I love this scene.
This is my go-to scene whenever I want to show anyone this series.
Really?
Yeah, I had a friend who wanted to see Kung Fu Panda. I'm like, okay, well, just watch this. And he's like, okay, I want to see these films now.
I don't know if I have my go-to scene would be probably the training scene later on, because that to me that's an example of both the comedy and the choreography. That's what I was trying to say.
I don't know if you've seen the E3 video of the fighting game.
No.
But they did the Chorgon prison stage.
Yeah.
It's very interesting the thing they do with the stage. You basically do the same thing Tai Lung does. You start at the bottom of the stage with the platform he's on, and you slowly climb your way up.
That's pretty interesting.
And they didn't show the whole thing, but I assume eventually what happens is you get to the top and they blow up the bridge and send you back to the bottom again.
That would be awesome if they did that. This is like one of the better scenes about this. Is actually my least favourite on the soundtrack.
Yeah, it's very specific to the scene.
It's something that I brought up in my soundtrack review. If you want to go watch that.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Something that I like about the music they use for Tai Lung is it's very synth heavy, whereas the other music is all acoustic music. So like it like contrasts him using music, and that's a clever idea because it innately makes him seem very alien to them.
Except this specific bit of the music right up here, which really stands out to me when it starts fighting them.
Yeah. It's some great choreography, and it's something I like about the choreography in this is the weight. You can feel the weight of the punches, and that's something that's very hard to do, especially for animation.
And that little move right there.
Yeah. I love the stop motion there.
And the Wilhelm scream.
Yeah. I love that. That effect does not get used enough. Oh, they're gonna die.
I like how all the rhinos look scared out of their minds.
It's something that is again something really hard to do is make an action scene like look intense and energetic. The camera movements when they're talking are just so like quick and funny that it makes the dialogue that much funnier.
It's a little hard to feel sorry for Fakir.
Yeah, he's a bit of a. I like that though. That he's such a dick to the prisoners that you actually, in a way, kind of root for Tai Lung, but you're not like totally not supposed to.
Of course, a lot of people really root for Tai Lung anyway.
Those people are weird.
And Shen, even more so.
I kind of a bit empathise a bit more with Shen though. That is, I guess that's kind of a fault for this film, is that Tai Lung is slightly one-dimensionally evil. Like, he has a little bit of a moment later on which you can kind of excuse for it gives him a bit more depth, but for the most part, he doesn't really. His goals are a bit too. I am evil for the sake of being evil. For me, anyway.
He basically wants power and vengeance.
Yeah, but like, I want to know why he feels these things. Why did Uruguay initially see evil with him? You know, what is it? Is it pure arrogance? Because I don't think pure arrogance can turn you into something like that. The person you mentioned earlier, who spotted the reference in the hall, by the way, she brought up a point about these characters that I'd never thought of before, and it made me think of them totally differently. Every single character besides the five has a traditional Chinese name, you know, like Po, Shifu, Tai Lung, stuff like that. The five have species instead of names, and Shifu refers to Po as Panda all the time. Now, she made the point that basically it could mean they actually do have names, and the reason why he refers to them as species is to teach them humility.
Well, I always thought that it was more so they're named after their styles, which just so happened to also be their species.
Or that.
Because that's really where the whole film came from. It's taking the animal styles of Kung Fu and personifying them.
That's the behind the scenes reason, but the in universe reason, I think, is to teach them humility.
Okay, I like that. I also like that little nerdgasm Poe has watching that.
If you look where he was staring, it becomes a lot more inappropriate. That chunk of rock he grabs there, it was referred to as the love chunk development. It sounds like a nickname someone would give Poe.
The love chunk.
Oh my god, what have I done?
like a pet name. On my little love chunk.
Fan fiction writers assemble.
And you know, the thing is, I'm sure it's been done.
A nice detail is when you notice Poe hit the ground, you notice them all jump into the air a little bit.
You notice what?
In that scene a second ago. Oh no, okay, watch when he fights Shifu in a second. Whenever he hits the ground, they jump in the air a little bit. Because he hits the ground so hard.
He's such a big guy, too. And speaking of which, I have noticed he is a little chubbier in this than the second film.
Yeah, that's because basically because the models they used for this film are from 2003, and they just kind of updated them.
Yeah, they were made all of them.
Yeah, they had to like re-rig everything. So they just decided to keep continuity and make it look like he lost a bit of weight.
Which is realistic, because really when you're doing all this stuff, you should lose some weight at some point.
Well, like, people say, like, he's fat, but pandas in real life, they're supposed to look like that. He's not fat.
You're supposed to be fat. A thin panda would be really freaky to look at.
And that's another irony I like about the film, is they make out like because he's a panda, he's useless. I know pandas in real life are lazy, but they will rip your head off because they're still bears.
Yeah, the thing about pandas, they're really docile until you piss them off. Which also kind of fits Poe to a T.
Until you steal their bamboo, then they get really pissed off.
Which is weird because Poe never eats bamboo. He eats tofu and dumplings.
I hate tofu, but I'm related. But I just love throwing it out there.
Which I'll just mention the third film. Apparently they're obsessed with bamboo.
Are they? I didn't know that.
Well, have you seen the concept art? They made everything out of bamboo.
Oh, I thought you meant eating it. Oh yeah, I've seen that.
Well, yeah, and probably eating it too.
I love the diagram, the fact that there's a tigress in there and a Poe.
Yeah, and they just kind of sketched over.
Yeah.
Just over to fit Poe. No wonder man has so much trouble here.
Now we won't be talking too much, I don't think, about the Furious Five until the second film because they have a bigger role in that. But on Viper, the poetry that's on her body is actually real Chinese poetry. So that's a nice detail.
That's so nice. I also like how Viper in general is the only one who's really nice to Poe, even before she really accepts him. Kind of makes her different from the others.
Yeah.
They don't all just hate him equally.
Well, not equally. Tigress despises him.
Yeah. Tigress and Viper are the two opposite ends of the spectrum.
I just want to say, I'm 20 years old. You know, I'm a man. But this next scene is the cutest thing I've ever seen. I'm a man. Now, this is one of the things that Angelina Jolie this is one of the scenes that made her want to do the film, because as people might know, she has a lot of children and she's adopted a few children. I'm trying not to make that sound quite as heartless as I'm making it sound, but so she empathised with the theme of adoption, and empathised with the consequences of how that made someone like Tai Lung or Tigress feel.
I always found the backstory with Tigress and Tai Lung interesting. It's like they're also like the two extremes, because it's the child that you pay too much attention to and the one you don't pay enough attention to.
Something that I don't like is when people assume there's a friendship between Tai Lung and Tigress. As far as I'm concerned, as far as this movie shows, they have never met in their life.
Yeah, and they do not like each other. Especially that scene at the bridge later. He is so condescending.
Yeah. Tai Lung's one of those villains that people love to hate. He's kind of like, oh, baby Tigress, I'm a man.
She's really cute.
She's so adorable. Oh, this look on her face like broke me. Oh. That's why she's my favourite character. She's so relatable, and she's got like very simple but solid motivations, and she's just a great character who has a great voice performance behind her. Also, that bit I like the transition between that really serious backstory and that goofy joke.
That's something the series does a lot. Just rapid back and forth between super drama and super comedy.
It never feels like it's cheating either, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It never feels like it's doing it in spite of itself. It always feels like it's respecting itself enough.
It's not like clashing.
Yeah, I love that as well. That I think I just stopped his heart. Well, it can only be one person in the fire chief. Who can it? I get that's another story thread that gets brought up here, explored in the second film. It's Inner Peace. He mentions it a lot here, and he achieves it by the end of the film, which you see when he's relaxed and everything. But it's not really a concept that gets much attention until the second film. Also, this is one of the best animated scenes in the entire film.
Oh yes,
probably the best. Also, Uruguay Ascends is a lot of people's favourite track. It's one of mine as well. If I don't want to self-plug, but if you haven't seen it, I did a guitar cover of it on the channel.
Yeah, I watched it. I know a lot of people didn't, but
I worked so hard on it.
I know they're there.
I really don't care that much. It's just a guitar cover. Oh, there was when I did that before. I was going to do Panda Po, but I didn't realise how difficult that was going to be because there's so much of it.
Oh yeah, it's actually a lot longer than it seems.
Yeah.
And of course it gets remixed all the time.
Don't remind me. The remix in 2, I really don't like that remix.
Which one?
The the track after My Fist Songs for Justice. One? That's a remix of Panda Po. I said it in the soundtrack review, but I think Panda Po could be the song that the franchise ends on. To me, it just sums up what the franchise is about, like light-hearted but deep themes. Now we're going to see this. We'll see this seed a bit later because this is the one that becomes the new peach tree.
It'd be kind of interesting just to see that peach tree just like gradually grow between films.
Yeah.
Which is probably really unrealistic, because how long do these things take to grow?
A peach tree is... I don't know, about 100 years probably.
Well, still, it'd be cool regardless. It's like a magical peach tree, so it's okay.
I find it kind of weird that Uguay is the inventor of Kung Fu. Is he supposed to be like 1,000 years old or 100 years old? What was it? It's like
1,000.
Okay, that makes a bit more sense then. Because if he was only 100, I'm like, how has it become pretty much the main art form of everyone in China in like 100 years?
Have you ever seen Uguay's like full backstory?
No.
Well, he grew up in the Galapagos Islands, which is where that kind of tortoise is actually from.
Yeah.
Then he kind of like traveled the world. He came across China. He he saw so much peril in the world that he wept into the pool of sacred tears, which is why it's named that.
That's sounding very fan fiction, eh?
No, that's actually canon.
He was so sad he created an entire pool. Oh, this bit. Oh, Uguay, no.
Yeah, I was going to continue that story, but I got distracted by this.
That it's such a great visual, and it's such a a sad moment. I remember as well because I mentioned earlier the DreamWorks era. This is the moment that it ended on. I was like, okay, I'm going to watch this film. I love this scene. I keep saying that there's not many scenes that I don't like.
Yeah, it's getting a little redundant.
Visual storytelling, show don't tell. They're naturally getting used to Poe. They don't have
except Tigress.
Well, we'll wait until that actually happens. But I never noticed Mantis had a mustache until just then.
And there's a little bit of foreshadowing right there to the whole "there is no secret ingredient" thing.
Yeah. I wish my mouth was bigger. I don't want to get scientific or too serious, but you would die. It doesn't matter how much chi you have. You would die.
Well, no, in this universe, Kung Fu lets you do anything. It's like an established rule.
But that's not scientific.
I think you might be watching the wrong franchise if you want scientific. He's a really good impression of Shifu, by the way.
I love the idea that Jack Black was actually trying to do a Dustin Hoffman impression.
I wonder if he actually dragged the noodle over his nose.
Adult joke coming up.
It's kind of a weird adult joke because they don't really have breasts in this universe.
Please don't start a discussion on that. Please don't. You know people will bring it up.
Yeah, unless you're fan artists, in which case...
keep them to yourselves.
Everyone and their grandmother likes to give Tigress breasts.
No!
Okay, I'm done.
Why can't things just be simple? Why do breasts have to be on everything? There's breasts probably on Shifu somewhere. Now, I mentioned it before, but a nice bit of trivia is the reason why Tigress wants to to take out Tai Lung so much is because it's an ancient Chinese legend that the tiger and the dragon despise each other. Remember, Tai Lung thinks he's the dragon warrior and she's a tiger.
And it's also kind of similar to Poe being the dragon warrior and him being sort of a tiger, so that's a slight parallel.
Yeah. This scene here is the only scene that Jack Black and Dustin Hoffman did together. Because it kind of needed it.
I think this is a scene where Poe really became a great character.
Yeah. I do love that as well when he tries to run and he just turns it back in the other direction. I couldn't leave because every time I tried to, you turned me in the other direction. You kept me prisoner here. I do love that kind of thing, like every time you said I smelled or threw something at me, and I love that kind of thing of, that hurt, but it doesn't hurt as much as actually being me. It's one of those things where it's not being emo about it because it's still keeping like a certain tone to it, but it's being deep enough that you can kind of empathise a lot with him.
Yeah, he's still a big goofy panda. He's not gonna start like slitting his wrists and listening to emo songs.
There are certain fan fictions.
Crawling in my skin.
Including some I may or may not have written where he does that, and I regret them immediately. Because in the end, it doesn't even matter.
I think we just quoted 2 different Linkin Park songs.
Yeah. Well, we're just going to stand here awkwardly till the camera pans away. And it's panned away. Yeah, that panned away, I didn't mean it to sound like Panda. Assassin's Creed, that shit. Awesome. Nailed it.
10 out of 10.
You know there's going to be one time where she tried to do that and failed.
Yeah. It's kind of hard imagining Tigress failing at Kung Fu. There's something...
That's, again...
I'll listen to you first. You go first.
There's something that I kind of find a little bit disheartening when watching this film, because I get so into it, is that even though they like Poe, they still don't believe in him in any way.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it kind of makes them a little, like I said, they're not really obnoxious because they have motivations for why they feel that way, but it also makes them seem a little bit of, like, arrogant to feel like that they are the only ones that can deal with him. That's such a great shot, that.
Oh, yeah, that red sun.
It's just going to quote Lord of the Rings, like, a red sun is rising, blood has been spilled this night.
I actually forgot about the little scene right there where Sheaf was just sitting out there with the sun.
Go to sleep, man. Jesus. His hearing's so good that he heard it from that far away, but he went in the completely opposite direction to where it was. This is one of my favourite Poe scenes, just because, like, he's so upset that he's actually destroying people's property to eat. When I first watched this film, I swear to God, you know when he punched into the wall there, the cupboard rather, I thought he was eating the cupboard. I thought he was so hungry. He was eating the Jade Palace, or the barracks rather.
Yeah, just having a little depressive fit.
I just noticed there were some potatoes on Poe's right there. Bit of a nitpick. Potatoes weren't introduced into the world until, like, you know, centuries after this.
Oh, gasp! This isn't 100% historically accurate to China. Who would have guessed?
Worst franchise ever. I love that line. I find that kind of weird that he was so upset about it, he didn't even consider how he got up there.
So I like that they don't overuse this joke where Poe needs food to do kung fu. It worked for this film, but I'm glad they dropped it, because that would have gotten old fast.
No, because, like, it's just the thing. It's just the thing to get him off the starting gate, as it were.
Yeah.
Again, that's the thing I respect about these films, is that they don't, like, if you watched the second and first film, so, like, if you watch the second one first, then watch the first film, you might not even think that, like, the second film seems like a third film, if you know what I mean. But they could. It's kind of hard to explain the point I'm trying to make basically is the narrative moves forward in such a way that it's surprising that people, like, for people who are watching it for the first time, it doesn't seem like a sequel to a film, if you know what I mean. It seems like
just a continuation.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is what a sequel should be.
This is one of my favourite tracks, The Sacred Pool of Tears. I love it. Also, the fog in the area is meant to represent Poe's clarity when it comes to Kung Fu, because when he first enters it, it's really foggy, but now it's really clear.
Is that from the art book?
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounded very artsy.
Don't cry.
And speaking of which, from the art book, there was a ton of shit that didn't make it into this film.
Yeah, there was a lot of, like I said earlier, the backstories were changed a lot. A lot of things were reused. Like Poe's father, the design for Poe's father was reused for the second film. and the idea of having Jack Black voice his own father was kept. And the basically Tai Lung was going to have wolf minions, and this is used in the game. But for the films, they thought it'd be better if he works by himself, because where would he get the army, for one, and two, why would he need it? I love that. So the wolves were kind of moved to Shen. Basically, the wolves were kind of the same, where during Tai Lung's exile, he would gather the wolf army. So they just kind of reused it basically for Shen.
Yeah, and I also found it interesting that Mantis was originally designed to be like Tai Lung's spy.
Yeah, that's really weird. I'm glad they didn't do that. I love the animation here, the decoloration and the saturation and that coming up. This bit, oh my god, this musical piece is so awesome.
I'm so glad they reused this.
Yeah.
It's like perfect montage music. And they'll probably do it again for the third film for Panda training, which is fine by me.
Don't play with my heart, Berserker.
What?
I said, don't play with my heart. If they don't do it, I'll be very upset. I'll walk out.
Sorry, don't want to get your hopes up too much.
Yeah, if they don't do it, I'm going to walk out and never watch it again. Now, this scene especially I remember, because this is the first scene I ever saw from the film, like in terms of promotion when it first came out. And I thought this scene was crap when I first watched it, because I didn't understand the context. I just thought, oh, it's a fat panda eating. Oh, great. You know what I mean? It's like, when you first see it, there's no kind of context for it.
Well, the whole fight scene or just this little part?
The whole fight scene. I didn't understand why he was doing that.
Yeah. Oh, also, I don't know if you noticed, but when Shifu first steps in front of Poe and grabs the dumpling, if you freeze the frame, he's doing like a little troll face at the camera.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
I'll check again afterwards. But I love the musical track here, and I just love the choreography of it all. It's just really funny. Again, all of these techniques that Shifu uses are mostly used against Tai Lung later, although on a bigger scale.
Yeah, it's a nice way of showing that he's actually learning stuff.
Yeah. This can't have been how the other five were trained. Oh, imagine if he bit his tongue there. Oh. This is such a fuck yeah moment when he actually does it.
And of course, this little bit afterwards.
Yeah.
Where he shows he doesn't need it.
I love the idea that he throws it to him. He's like, then he begs like, actually, can you give it back? I'm quite hungry. You haven't fed me in the day since we've been up here.
All you fed me is tofu.
And I don't like tofu.
Okay, so I was going to bring this up before. I like how animal-esque the characters still are, even though the only reason they're animals is to represent the animal styles of Kung Fu.
Yeah.
Like, they don't just use that as a purely aesthetic thing.
Well, like, the thing is, like, you say that, one of the things they made sure was, especially for characters like Tigress and Tai Lung is, using Tigress as an example, they made a conscious effort to not make her look outwardly feminine. Like, they don't give her, like, humanistic proportions, which is the Tigress breast thing earlier, which is why I was making fun of it, because she's designed in a way to not bring that up, to not bring that to your eye.
Well, like I said, everyone thought she was going to be a guy, voiced by Jackie Chan.
That's what she was supposed to. She's an animal first, then a female.
I just love the scene right here where Tai Lung's just casually leaning on the side of a falling rope bridge. Just leaks arrogance.
This is actually the first time we hear him speak as well.
Except for that little bit after he escapes the prison.
Well, like in his actual, like, really smooth British accent. Before he just kind of, like, he's more kind of speaking in a low voice.
He's a little more menacing, yeah.
And now when you hear him in his normal voice, it's just really funny how, like, campy he actually is.
Now, I really love this scene because of how creative it is, but I don't think it goes on quite long enough.
No, I agree. This is actually, for some people, this is the best fight scene in the franchise.
And I don't agree with that, but it's really good.
I don't agree with it either, but I agree it's one of the more creative ones.
So what I actually heard is that when DreamWorks first proposed the idea to do this rope bridge fight scene, the animators had like no idea how to do it, and they're like, "Good, that means it's never been done before, so do it."
I've never heard that, but that's amazing.
It's kind of like shows that they cared more about doing it for the art.
Okay, I've got a little bit of trivia to kind of do with that. It's nothing to do with DreamWorks. It reminds me of that. I love that joke by Mantis there. When they were doing Jurassic Park, the idea of doing the T-Rex as an actual model, not as an animation thing, they went, "Oh, that's impossible. You can't do that." And then Spielberg went, "That's exactly why we should do it."
Yeah, same concept.
I love this track here. Oh god, it's the bridge. It's called. It's so awesome. Also, this place actually does have a name. It's called the Thread of Hope. Because it's called that because this is where you think that the five are going to defeat Tai Lung and they don't.
And also in universe, it's sort of like the bridge between the Valley of Peace and the outside world.
Yeah.
The very inappropriately named Valley of Peace.
That's something I really like about the films is that they're moving further and further away from where the original film takes place.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the third film isn't that far away from there, but you know what I mean.
Oh, that Panda Village looks pretty far away.
Well, not as like Gong when it took them days to get there. A bit of a continuity error here. I sound such an arsehole saying that. Basically, the pose that Tai Lung frees his monkey in is that. But when you see in a minute, it implies that he's done it in mid punch, basically.
Yeah. Wow, Crane is strong.
That's a nice detail there, is that he's supposed to be the mediator of the group. He's supposed to be the rock that they all rely on, Crane. So by showing him carry them all like that is saying that he's carrying that entire team, basically. Like, emotionally.
It's a continuity error, but the joke was worth it.
And the reason why Tigress is in the fetal position like that is to show that she's the most vulnerable there. That she's realised that she's messed up the most. It's little visual things like that make the characters a bit richer. This is actually my favourite track on the first film soundtrack. This one here. Well, the one that plays in a minute when Shifu gets the scroll down.
I was about to say there wasn't much going on there.
No. Who put that up? Just want to ask that. Such an awesome moment. I like the fact they keep reusing the flower petals, kind of like as a nice kind of thing. They keep reusing as a visual thing. I don't know what it's trying to represent, but it's a nice visual.
I like how getting the Dragon Scroll is actually like a special moment instead of he just like climbs up and grabs it. Like here you go.
Would have been great if they actually did get out a trampoline to get it.
And this is a really predictable twist, but it's so cool. But you can already punch through walls. Remember the kitchen?
Yeah. And eat them.
I just love a lot of Jack Black's sounds.
Love Shifu's face there.
Goddamn, why him? And also, speaking of which, you can also tell that Shifu is sort of accepting him at this point because he calls him Po instead of Panda.
Yeah.
Which is really subtle.
Which is kind of like the implication that he respects Po more than the 5, though.
Well, that's assuming that theory about them having real names is true.
Yeah.
It's still just a theory. See, I'm kind of not a fan of that theory because it implies that he treats his own adoptive daughter and doesn't even call her real name.
That's the thing I wish they would bring up more. That Tigress is his adopted daughter, pretty much. They don't bring it up enough, and I feel like it's a bit of a missed opportunity for their relationship. Like if they hadn't had that flashback early, you'd never know.
Well, in the short, but that came later.
Yeah. This is pretty dark for a kids' film because Shifu pretty much accepts, I'm going to die. It's like, yeah, he's going to kill me, but at least he won't have to be in another Kung Fu Panda film.
Jeez.
That's overly mean. That's quite a touching moment. I do really like that.
I can't get over how messed up Viper looks. Crane's really awkward little shuffle over there.
Yeah, I love that. Again, that shows how he's the kind of the rock of the group. A nice detail here for the villagers is you'll probably notice that a lot of them are in terms of a food chain. A lot of them are the meals of other animals. This is to show how they're pretty much all victims, and like characters like Tigress and Viper and Crane, they're all predators in real life.
They're all people that Tai Lung would eat, so they had to evacuate.
Yeah, yeah. That pig's a prick. It's like, oh yeah, that guy didn't save from Tai Lung. Yeah, what are you doing? You're running away. I'm just getting absorbed in the moment.
Yeah. I keep forgetting that we're actually supposed to be talking.
Yeah. I love the fact Mr. Ping's so obsessed with it. He's actually talking about the future of noodle making as if it's like the greatest thing ever.
And he's convinced up to this point that Po's whole Kung Fu thing was just a phase.
Yeah, that's kind of depressing.
As opposed to the second film where he names his entire noodle shop after him and puts memorabilia puts like stuff of him everywhere.
He totally exploits it.
Yeah. Memorabilia, that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah. This
saying like memorabilia.
See that line there? That hints at his backstory, and to me that's just great storytelling because then it can naturally transition into the second film.
I find it hard to believe that they didn't have a second film planned when they made this, which apparently they didn't.
No, that's bullshit. I can guarantee you that's bullshit. You don't hint at stuff like that and then don't expect to have a sequel. Even if okay, let's say for example this was an indie studio, because it's not, but let's say for example it was. Having these stars in it and the kind of premise it does guarantees you're going to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
This is a great moral, I love it, and it's not like the message is the same as a lot of other things, but the way it's told is totally different. It's not Kung Fu that makes you special, it's you that makes it special. It's a great message, and we hear it a lot, in a lot of cheesy pop songs, but it's just a refreshing way of telling that message. I love that. I would love to see the conversation right after that. It's like, okay, Dad, can you go away now? I've got to go fight and possibly die.
So apparently Tai Lung was waiting in the shadows, waiting for Shifu to blink so he could pop up like that dramatically.
It's like, Tai Lung doesn't care about getting the upper hand, he just wanted to make a cool shot.
I mean, that's literally canon, I wasn't making that up. I thought they came from the art book. Guess not.
I don't know. To be honest, I haven't used it once since we started. A lot of it's just been... To be honest, we've covered most of the more interesting facts about it anyway.
Yeah.
This is such a great fight scene. That's something I really like about Shifu. Like he's pretty old, but I like the fact that he can take hits like that. How old is Tai Lung supposed to be? Like, he's in his 40s, isn't he?
Oh yeah, he's at least 20. So, and you could possibly assume his metabolism just got like frozen from all his years in prison too.
That's a good point.
I mean, otherwise, how did he take a piss? The one that just like bring him a bucket. I don't want to think about that.
Oh.
That's actually something I don't really like about Tai Lung as a villain. He's not really Poe's enemy. He's got this whole conflict with Shifu, and Poe's just kind of in the way.
In a way, that's kind of refreshing though, because a lot of the time they could have just forced a conflict between him and Poe. But I like the fact they were natural about it, and instead of making him Poe's enemy, they showed what happens when you expect too much of someone or expect too little. Basically, like if they expect too little of Poe, he surprises Shifu, but Shifu expects too much of Tai Lung, and this is ultimately what happens to him. It's like you were saying earlier about the Tigress and Tai Lung dynamic.
I do like how they acknowledge that Uguay's staff got broken because it's repaired in the second film.
They do kind of make it weird though by taping it.
Instead of using some mystical kung fu art.
Yeah, they literally just bought some tape. I don't know where they got it from.
I guess they wanted to make it a little more noticeable.
It's like Dragon Ball Z stuff. It kind of makes Tai Lung a little bit unsympathetic because he's been pretty brutal here. That's such a great visual.
This upcoming scene is pretty great.
Yeah. I remember as a joke once, after we recorded the commentary for this, the original one, I said to like my friend, "Has it finished recording?" And I just went, "Tell me!" like that.
This is how you ruin a dramatic moment, everyone. I like the fact that Tai Lung sort of pauses just a little bit.
Again, that's what I was saying earlier. That's a nice small moment that kind of humanises him a little bit, and kind of makes
Show
him
don't tell.
And yeah, exactly, and kind of made him like. It shows that like that's how you make a good villain. Show that he's not one-dimensionally evil. That's a good step towards it. But ultimately, he just kind of goes, "Yeah, fuck it, I like being evil." That's a brutal attack. That could have crippled him.
I read a fanfiction where it did.
Yeah, yeah, oh god. I knew you were going to bring that up.
You set me up for it.
I love this gag. Again, they do bring a joke in with Poe, but they don't ruin the tone. They just kind of enhance it by throwing Poe into this serious tone, basically.
The interesting dynamic is that the sun rises right as Poe gets into the scene.
Yeah, exactly.
It was all dark and stormy previously. And he does.
Foreshadowing. Where was he carrying that? I love they just punches him.
Don just got this look on his face like, what the hell?
I love that he gets a little bit cocky. He's like, oh fuck, actually I remember what I'm doing. This is such a satisfying fight scene. Again, we're using a lot of the stuff from earlier. That's the tree that hit Poe earlier.
What I like about this fight scene is basically Tai Lung gets beaten because A, he's focusing on the Dragon Scroll the whole time, and B, he has no idea how to fight this guy.
Yeah, exactly.
He's not at all like a traditional kung fu master.
There's something I like as well, like the fact that you're reusing a lot of the stuff from earlier, reincorporating a lot of like the techniques in that earlier, like the noodles here. It kind of makes those scenes feel way more important than they would usually. I love the Looney Tunes stretching that went on there.
Yeah, with Tai Lung's legs.
Yeah. That pan that hits Tai Lung in the face there can be seen in the second film as well.
Yep, I was going to mention that. I was waiting for you to do it.
We'll point it out when it comes up if we remember.
I never even noticed it, like when it's actually playing. I've only seen like 3 frames.
It's such a weird kind of like Easter egg to have. Though it does make sense because they are stealing the metal. Though why anyone would keep it is anyone's guess. I love Tai Lung flying around in the background there. This leads to that moment leads to the really dodgy kind of thing where you realise that when he's fighting Tai Lung, he's imagining Tai Lung as a giant steak.
Like that scene where Tai Lung's freaking out because he thinks the Dragon Scroll is giving him mystical powers.
Yeah. That's very Looney Tunes.
And at that point, Tai Lung's pretty much just fuck this shit.
I love this little musical cue when he's just flying into him. Like dun 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 dun. And thus Poe died, and there was never a sequel.
There's an interpretation that he's like talking about himself when he sees that.
Really?
That he sees an image of himself and he goes, "It's nothing," because he's nothing without the Dragon Scroll, as far as he's concerned.
Crawling in my skin. I love that like kind of that like move he made just then. That was awesome. Don't stop it. I love this bit.
There's the archway of Pig's Noodle Shop that gets repaired in the second film.
Yeah, I'm literally just going to mention that. That's a really nice like. Again, there's continuity. It's really good they do that.
Yeah, every time I'm trying to make one of these references, I'm like waiting a little bit, see if you do it first. I'm like, okay, no, I'll go in.
The tension in this commentary is like, is he going to say it first? It's like the Wild West here.
It's like a competition almost. Who can make the most trivia references?
Who can be the most obscure?
Who can be the biggest nerd?
In that competition, nobody wins. I love it. Poe getting the upper hand here is so satisfying. It's going to be like that myth I said earlier where he straps fireworks to the chair. It's like Tai Lung was never seen again. Looks like Tai Lung has been brought back down to earth.
That's very Looney Tunes.
Yeah. Duck season.
Oh my god, there's a fucking car alarm going on.
Yeah,
do you hear that?
In the background. That's the awesome alarm, people. So it's okay, alright, I'll try and... Okay. I love this little smile he does. That moment when Kung Fu Panda 3 gets announced.
I love how messed up Tai Lung looks.
I love this little smile he does when he's like, no, I won't use it. It's like, thanks. Oh.
It's kind of dark when you think that he just murdered Tai Lung just so casually.
Implied.
I
don't know. I bet he did. There's no skirting around it. He did just murder someone.
So, since this is brought up in the fandom a lot, what do you think of the idea of Tai Lung returning at some point?
No. He doesn't need to. I hate people who say that.
To me, it depends what they do with him.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if they redeem him, then maybe. But no.
If he was like an anti-hero, like searching for a purpose without the Dragon Scroll.
Yeah, that'd be all right. I love this, by the way. That's the kind of like remembering what happened earlier, and this, the wok and the apron. The fact he discards it is visually showing that he's now the Dragon Warrior. He's not abandoned, but he shed the role of a noodle chef, and he's now the Dragon Warrior. Again, it's like people who want to bring back Lord Shen. I'm like, please don't do that.
Yeah, okay. Tai Lung could work coming back, not Shen.
Yeah, it's Lord Shen especially can't.
His character arc is done. Tai Lung's they could potentially continue.
I love this moment from the 5. And the Dragon Warrior Rises is such a great track as well in the soundtrack. Such a touching moment as well from them.
And Tigress bows down.
That means they're in love, obviously.
Don't even. I want to talk about that, wait until Kung Fu Panda 2.
I love that run he does up to the
He's like, oh yeah, Shifu, he was in mortal peril.
Like Shifu's like, I'm dying, and he's like, oh yeah, I forgot about you. The lighting here is really great because the gold here represents victory and heroism, and the green there represents enlightenment or knowledge. So it's kind of showing that Shifu is now enlightened because of Po, and it represents peace as well. This is where Shifu gains his inner peace. It's also leading up to one of the best gags in the entire film.
I was literally going to say that exact line.
Yeah. We were made to do Kung Fu Panda commentaries.
What makes it so funny is that it's so expected that he would die.
Yeah, I remember there's a story someone told me. My brother, he told me this story about because he saw it in cinema when it came out. He said there was this little kid in front of him with his mum who saw this film, and this happened, and the kid said, "Oh, is he dead?" And then like he's alive again because that kid was really expecting him to die there. That's great storytelling. Again, that's breaking a cliche. I love that so much. Such a funny joke.
Up until Shifu actually dies, in which case it'll no longer be funny.
Oh no, if they did it again, it's like, no, don't die, Shifu. Oh, he's going to get back up. It's just like, well, no, Shifu.
Because in all fairness, if they're ever going to kill off anyone, like a major character, Shifu's the first choice.
No, I think they could easily kill off Zeng first. He's more of an important character. Obviously.
Aww. Poor Goosey.
Okay, so we're at the end of Kung Fu Panda now, so do you want to sum up your final thoughts?
It was awesome.
Thanks. Thanks.
I'm not good at summaries.
I'm okay.
Don't just put me on the spot like that.
Okay, I'll sum up mine. I'll give you a chance to think of some. Kung Fu Panda is one of the most unexpectedly good films I've ever seen. Like I said earlier, it came at the right point in my life when I needed it. Needed a film like this to kind of make me a bit more positive about films and stuff like that, and just cheer me up generally. It's got great characters, it's really funny, it's got an okay villain, it's got a great moral, great voice performances, fantastic animation. It's probably the best thing about the film, next to the writing, and it's a great story. Just a great film overall. I would give it an 8.5 out of 10. Not the greatest film I've ever seen, but a favourite of mine.
What he said.
Okay, we're going to leave you here now with the credits, which is a cover of Kung Fu Fighting by Carl Douglas, covered by CeeLo Green and Hans Zimmer, and of course Jack Black yelling in the background. So, see you then, peeps.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, not see you then. I mean, we'll see you next time for the Kung Fu Panda 2 commentary.